Doing rises and work with a TheraBand to become stronger for demi-pointe and point work is great, but it's not enough. In this video, I'm going to share with you why that actually is not enough for you to get what you're really looking for. So keep watching to see two different video sections where I'm going to show you some essential skills that you might be missing, but can easily add to your training regimen. To be safe on point, we need to be strong and we need to be sensitive. We are training our nervous system just as much as we are training our muscles. And while it might seem like you can do both at the same time, there is a slightly different approach when you're also addressing training the nervous system for the sensitivity part. So let's first look at the TheraBand exercises and why I say they're not quite enough. Although they're good, please, if you're doing them now, keep doing them. So the TheraBand work is great for you to develop strength and precision, partly because often when you're doing the TheraBand work, you're actually being able to see your feet while you're doing it. And that helps give you a whole lot of visual feedback of what you're doing, what you're feeling and what you're doing are getting linked together. But maybe you know where I'm going with this. When we're dancing, we're not able to see what we're doing. And my gosh, I sure don't want to be getting trained to look down at my feet as the only way that I can know what they're doing or to really feel sensitive or safe. So that's number one, is we have to remember that training the nervous system requires learning to feel it, not just see it. So we do need to, at some point, take away the opportunity to see what we're doing. So now you're going to be weight bearing and having those eyes out to the distance. Another reason why we want to make sure we're also training while being weight bearing is a really cool, brilliant thing about your body, which is that the two legs talk to each other without heading up the spinal cord for processing in the brain. They simply have their own communication, leg to leg, leg to leg. And it's there for us to help navigate uneven ground. And our nervous system is really quick to make the ankles work together to manage that uneven ground. And so quick that it's actually too much time to go to the brain and back. So it's just leg to leg, but you only get that when you're doing weight bearing, because then it's responding to the ground below you or responding to your movement. It's not the same when you're sitting. So do keep your TheraBand, but I'm also suggesting you add these exercises. So now look at just a little clip from video A before I show you the whole thing, which is only 45 seconds anyway.
I'm going to start with the sickle to go out and come down straight and then reverse. So here we go. Slight sickle out, come straight and straight down. Tiny sickle out, come straight and down.
Welcome back. And yes, you heard right. I was asking the dancers to sickle. Oh my God, sickle. No. Dancers never sickle. Certainly not on purpose. Or do they? Do they? Well, I believe they do. And I've got lots to say about that, even for a flat foot wing and sickle. But right now, let's just look at this idea of rising and whether we're actually supposed to be saying that sickling is good or bad. I'd say, yes, it's good. And yes, it's bad. It's bad if I didn't intend to do it. I didn't intend to sickle. Well, gosh darn, that could be leading me to a disastrous ankle sprain that can take me out for weeks or months. So why would I be asking them to sickle? Let's go look at the whole video, only 45 seconds, and then come back and I'll tell you a little bit more about why I'm asking for them to sickle.
I'm going to start with the sickle to go out and come down straight and then reverse. So here we go. Slight sickle out, come straight and straight down. Tiny sickle out, come straight and down. Then you're going to go straight up. Slight sickle to come down, straight up, slight sickle to come down. Now you're going to do the wing. Slight wing in and come straight to go down. Wing in, come straight to come down. Go up straight and slight wing in. Go up straight and slight wing in.
Welcome back. All right, so in that video, you saw that I was talking about winging and sickling. Now, why am I doing it? Well, because we're not going to be perfect all the time. That's number one. So if we're only training our rises to be perfect, well, for starters, we might not be getting the muscles all equally balanced, like around the joint, kind of like a rotator cuff that you have in your shoulder, but equally all around. All the muscles actually have to work and be, asked to the party to be able to be part of the party and each do their equal part. And a lot of lower leg injuries are actually about muscle imbalances. So by doing things only ever perfectly, it appears like maybe we're being balanced, but we actually need to experience all these places to wake up all the muscles around. So that's number one, actually strength, if you're doing it quite big. But if you start to do it more subtle, now you're developing the sensitivity. The sensitivity for what? The sensitivity to know how to come back if you had gone off. If you've gone off unintentionally, you're losing your balance, somebody knocked into you, any number of things. If I never go off, I never get to practice coming back. So think of the coming back like getting back on course. So imagine you're doing choreography and exercise, what have you, and you mess up counts 3 and 4. Well, ideally, you're back on track by count 5, but you would have come from a different place to get back on track for count 5. If count 3 and 4 had gone nice and flowing, you had your normal practice path to get to count 5. But if something happened off, you had to immediately think on your feet to get back for count 5. Now it's the same thing with your ankles. The sensitivity of, if I went a little sickling off, I need to know how to come back to neutral. So I need to practice it a bit big for big noticing and strength, practice it more subtle. The more you do this, I would practice it more and more subtle. So like you're only off by like a millimeter instead of 3 or 4 millimeters. And the girls in this filming were showing the bigger version of it for the most part, just so that it would be more visual and you could really see it. So please know, I'm not telling you to train yourself to sickle, but I am suggesting that if you want to have stability, you need to have equal strength. So we need to be going around it all. Okay, if I wanted a strong wrist, I can't just do one action. I'd want to do all of it. So yes, we've got our ankle circles. And in a way, it's like doing an ankle circle with weight bearing. So I'm building more nervous system sensitivity and more strength because I'm using my weight, which is going to be more than any resistance a TheraBand could do, for example. Plus, don't forget, when you're actually dancing, you do a variety of things. Imagine you're doing like a huge wide fourth where the ankles feel a little different and you have to have strength slightly different places than when they're perfectly vertical underneath you. Or you're doing a nice tombe and actually timbering off that full point or even demi point. Okay, it's different. There are different pathways and different muscles have to kind of wake up to help keep you supported and stable. So strength is important, yes, but sensitivity and noticing is equally important and often not talked about in the training of dancers. I hope it has been, but if it hasn't, here's your moment to start to consider it. If you're falling off point, it happens in like a millisecond before you have time to consciously ask for the control and the noticing to say, hey, tibialis anterior, can you work a bit more? Or those perineals on my left side, wake up a bit. It's too late. You can't consciously think that. It has to be a reactive response that gets trained into the system. And therefore, I've got to go there, come back, go there and come back, go there, come back. So the other variation, by the way, would be to do changes of speed. So right now, I just kept it very even. I didn't do any music because copyright stuff with music. But you could do a super slow version. You could also do a super fast version. And the fast version, of course, is even more related to, a quick fall off point, but being able to come back, right? Quick response is what we need to be actually safe and secure up there. Now, before I show you the next video, I just want to give a big heartfelt thank you to the dancers who were generous enough to be willing to have their legs, feet, and butt filmed so that you could have something to follow along with. My words wouldn't be nearly enough to explain it versus just actually seeing dancers do it. And I also want to give a big thank you to all of you out there who've already subscribed. That means the world to me. And hopefully it makes your life easy because maybe if you're a subscriber, you would have been notified when this video came out. And I also want to thank my supporters who have bought me a coffee and support me in making all those videos. If you're interested in supporting me a little bit by buying me a coffee, please go ahead and check out my page that I'm linking in the little box right here. So you can see what that is, and also of course down in the description. So before I show you the last video, the second variations of them, I just want to give you an image that you can consider while you're watching this. I love images. I think they work wonders for many types of people and thinkers. And if you're one of those, then here's an image for you. Imagine you're at the mall and you want to go to your favorite store. So if you're a student here, mom dropped you off at this entrance and you know the path to get to your favorite store. And then dad drives you the next time, drops you somewhere else. Oh, different path. Or somehow, I don't know, you got blindfolded and placed somewhere else, and you got to always find a new pathway. Knowing where you're going isn't any good unless you know where you're coming from and therefore the pathway. So yes, we want to always know vertical, but I can't know vertical because I'm only ever at vertical. That's like you magically being transported in front of your favorite store all the time. And you didn't actually get to figure out all the multiple potential pathways to get there. Another image would simply be like breadcrumbs, like in Hansel and Gretel. If I go there and come back, I've left the breadcrumbs. Your nervous system is going to need those breadcrumbs. There is going to be a time when you need those. And it's really kind of like saying prevention. An ounce of prevention worth of, what is it? An ounce of prevention is worth a ton of the cure. So do you really want to be doing ankle rehab because you twisted your ankle, or would you rather be doing something like this as good prevention? Okay, so now with that in mind, let's watch the second video, do it with them. I'm talking you through it, and then a few last little points with variations at the very end. So stick around for that.
Heading a bit to the left, so a wing and a sickle, come center, wing and sickle to come down. A little bit left and center and a little bit right and down. Let's do two more, a little bit left and center and come down to the right and left, center, come down to the right. Now reverse, a little bit to the right and center, a little bit left and down, a little bit right and down. Start to make it as subtle as you can. Once you know the muscles, know the path, then make it small so it's a bit more about the nervous system. And now let's sickle both out and come in to come down, tiny sickle as you rise and come down, and then let's go the wing and sickle, da, da, tiny wing, sickle. And then let's just finish with 4 rises where you're trying to be perfect on the way up and perfect on the way down. And if you go it all offline, use your new sensitivity to help detail it. And start to notice, do you have a habit that does anything that actually wants to pull you off to one or those others? A little wing or a little sickle? There you go.
Welcome back. So here's my last notes for you. First thing is just to say, even if you're working on this for point work, I would do demi-point first, okay? Anytime you go up onto point, it really magnifies what you're doing. You know, the subtlety of being off a hair on demi-point when you come back, that subtlety will actually feel quite big when you're on point. So please do it on demi-point for a while until you feel you're really good at and doing the subtle versions. As mentioned earlier, the other thing would be do it on 2 feet for a long time, then start to experiment a bit on 1 foot. If you notice that 1 foot is way more skilled and 1 foot is a lot weaker, please don't train equally. Be a little unbalanced in your training. So if I've got, you know, my left leg is this strong, my right leg is this strong, don't keep getting equal strength because you'll remain uneven. Do a few more. So maybe, again, if this was my left, I would maybe start on my left, do my right, and do more left, so that I'm always trying to balance them out over time. So our goal would be to be as equal as possible eventually. Also work with the size. You can do bigger when you're looking for strength, more subtle when you're looking for more sensitivity. And I did also kind of mention this idea of doing it with changes of speed, right? Really slow builds more noticing, and then the quick reactions of doing it really quickly. I didn't film this version. I think it's going to be self-explanatory, which is just to rise and do sickle and back, sickle and back, sickle and back, wing and back, or sickle and wing, back and forth. The versions I showed you were when they were doing those actions during the rises, but you can just do it up on demi-point or eventually on point. Okay, it's a little bit like doing on point where you're just coming off the box and back up. You could also do roll off the box with a bit of a wing, come back up straight, roll off the box with a bit of a sickle, come up straight. Those are all the variations if you're at that point doing your point work. I hope you enjoyed all this, found it informative. Hope you watched the whole thing because there's lots of points in there. Thank you so much for watching and sticking it to the end. I have linked another video you might be interested here. And of course, check out that description for the distance eye focus one I mentioned, and to see about some of the other goodies that I have on offer for you. And also if you wanted to buy me a coffee, although honestly, I'd be having a tea. Thank you so much for making it to the end. Teachers, your students will thank you, and students, your ankles will thank you. And I thank you too for placing your trust in me and using some of your most valuable time in watching this whole video. Thank you so much, and see you on the next one.